This is the 25th year for HK Architects.
Oh!
So we're really excited that we've been involved in Chattanooga for 25 years and we love our city.
What was the first project you were contacted about for this area?
The first project we worked on was a live workspace for Melissa Hefferlin and Dowda Creve on William Street, and it took an old building, adaptively recreated a studio in the back with some parking, a central garden space, and then it received a facade grant from Lyndhurst Foundation, which allowed some improvements on the front that made the building really unique. Here you see some of the things that I believe made Main Street successful is the public art. You see a piece over here, The Dress by John Petrie, and that was part of the programs early on to create activity. So there were facade grants and art grants and grants for artists to move here. So there was a forgivable mortgage if you moved into the neighborhood. And artists are usually the pioneers that come into a community and make it cool, and then everybody else wants to participate. We are on Mitchell Street, right next to Main Street, and this is a sixplex that has been renovated and restored. And recently we worked with the owners to create an enlarged family home for them. And taking advantage of their adjacent property, there's a little garden hideaway. Things like that in Chattanooga are just so wonderful that you can be in the middle of the city, right off Main Street, and have your own private space and garden. So next we're going to go to my favorite cafe, Need Loves, which is one of the first businesses that came here and started the reactivation of Main Street. And now, I mean, it's just such a hot spot, you have to wait in line to get in there. Across the street you see Green Spaces, which is a sustainability nonprofit, and they provide assistance to architects, owners, developers on how to make your project more sustainable. And they've been a real leader in our community.
So 25 years in business, Heidi. What's your proudest moment?
Well, being involved in a city that's emerging and growing is very exciting, and all the jobs that we've created. We have really great staff who is collaborative and enjoys working with each other, and that's really satisfying.
Now let's go get something yummy at Need Loves.
It's totally full. That's the way it is every day. Schools are really important to a neighborhood, and we worked with Battle Academy to develop an unused site next to their property. Craig Cronenberg, my partner and husband, he went and worked with the school district to allow us to develop a community park on the county property so that during the day the school could use it, and then on weekends and evenings it's an amenity for the neighborhood. And we raised money from the nonprofits and local businesses, and then we put in a chess pavilion, a pool table, benches, walkways, landscaping, and now the school created 2 outdoor classrooms, so it's really continued to grow.
Both got our sneaks on today.
Yes, and Scout Guide Business.
Heck
right?
yeah.
Chattanooga
Shoe.
Company. We love them.
What is your kind of like go-to daily uniform that you wear?
Well, I'm into comfort, so I like a good, comfortable shoe, preferably from Chattanooga Shoe Company. And then, depending on what I'm doing, you know, business suits or more casual. Of course, I have my HK shirt, jacket on, so branded.
What's your favorite thing to order at Aaliyah?
I love their pasta with the shrimp and the fresh tomato sauce. It's just amazing. Now we're at the corner of Main and Market, which is a main artery through to downtown, and a great spot here. That was a good location to put the Battle Academy on this site. When we first came to town in '96, there was a gas station there, and it was part of the Dover Coal master plan to bring us a neighborhood school in, and that really was pivotal in the rebirth of the neighborhood.
You're fast.
You're going to see up here on the left the Five Woods Brewing Company, which was an HK project, and originally it was a flour distribution facility that then was turned into a neighborhood grocery store. which was called Enzo's. Sadly, that was a little early for the market and it didn't survive, but it's found a new life. Part of the design of this was creating public places to eat, and this outdoor patio is on the east side of the project, so that in the late afternoon you're not going to be too hot sitting out there. It is shaded so it's active during all types of weather, and then has heaters for the winter time. Many times buildings, when your parking areas are not at the same elevation, you have to put in ramping to get people in wheelchairs up. So the approach to the site design here was to slope the whole site, bringing people in at the level where your entry is. And this project has black slate. It's clad in slate, which is a very durable and natural material. It requires no maintenance, and we've used that since on other projects, Southern Surgical Arts, and then on Avondale Youth and Family Development Center. Back in the early 2000s, we developed 21 townhomes. There are 3 sets of buildings of 7 units, and one of them is just down the street at 17th and Long. All of our projects included roof deck spaces, which we had seen so much in Europe, and found that that is something everybody enjoys if you have your own private space outdoors in the city. Of course, you have the public parks and other things, but a private space, no matter what size, is an amenity. And now I think you'll see many of the projects, other than HK, at least half of them all seem to have a roof deck. So that's really exciting to see that growing in acceptance.
What does a typical day in the life of Heidi look like?
Well, I spend a lot of time with firm management, marketing, and then several hours a day working on individual projects. Sketching, working with models, working with the project architects. Right now I'm working on an athletic facility for CGLA that the design is done, it's under construction, so we have meetings at the site. Then I'm working on a house in Jasper Highlands, and working on several proposals for big civic projects.
How does it feel having such a embedded history with Chattanooga and the Southside?
It's very satisfying. If you can make a difference in the community you live in and people's lives, it's probably the ultimate satisfaction of an architect. So you're not just working only with the buildings and the interiors, but helping your entire community any way you can. Craig got a grant and planted 160 trees, because also, you know, the tree canopy in a neighborhood is something that makes it nicer to walk. You get shade, you have wildlife, it's sustainable.
How did you guys choose Chattanooga as home, Heidi?
Well, I grew up here and then moved to Los Angeles and worked for Skid Mowings in Merrill and on the Getty Museum with Richard Meyer. But we kept coming back to visit, and my sister and her husband came here and they said, you guys should come back because Chattanooga is going to have a renaissance and they're going to need architects. So that, combined with the high cost of living in LA, we thought it would be a great place to live. So we moved back here in 1996. And I had been away for 20 years at that point. I love the scale of this street. It's so nice that you have wide sidewalks, the verges with the trees, and then you're separated from your neighbors by the greenery, which is a great civic design. We lived in the neighborhood for 13 years. We moved down here from Signal Mountain in 2003, and we bought a house from Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise, planted the bunch of trees, started the developments, then we moved into one of our developments to help facilitate the funding, and we lived there for 10 years. It was really exciting to live in the neighborhood as all this development and changes were taking place. So you see the roof decks on the back, porches on the front. We always tried to do porches on all of our projects, and you see here, having a front porch really makes a great neighborhood. And look at all these houses. They all have front porches. That's how you meet your neighbors, you hang out, people walk by. So these were the first townhouses that we built, and they were varying sizes and meant to be affordable. So they ranged from $130,000 to $240,000, which sounds so inexpensive now, right? And this was the house we moved in and before we did the development at 18th and Cowart. The garage was not there, but we planted all the trees. These trees were planted in 2003, and look how big they are already. So the house had been built by Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise. We just moved in, built the fences, added the landscaping, and then we moved to the end unit at 18th and Cowart. One of the things as the neighborhood has grown, and it's part of the new zoning that Dan, our new head of zoning, is promoting, is infill, where you get attached dwelling units or detached dwelling units. So one property can have multiple families or your children living in them. And people have added garages, and I'll show you one where we added a garage with a living unit above. And then on the next street, another one. So the neighborhood starts to fill in and become more dense, and that allows mother-in-law units or students or your extra art studio or your cars.
What are some aspects of urban living that you miss?
Being able to walk to the restaurants. I mean, you just walk down the street and you have any number of choices. You have the coffee shops, you have Feed, you have La Altenia, and I love the grocery store at La Altenia.
So fun.
Look at the little squirrel. Wildlife in the neighborhood.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So this is an example of a detached dwelling unit. Our son was an artist and we wanted to provide him a workspace and have a garage. So the unit above, when he was here, he used it as an art studio. Then we had a Volkswagen employee who lived in it because it's a one-bedroom studio apartment. And then Mia Bergeron had her studio there. And now I believe Kate Roebuck is using it. So keeping artists in the neighborhood is really great. This is another example of a private garden. So when we added the detached dwelling unit, we created a private garden between the existing townhouse and the garage. Hey, Don! Here's my neighbor, Don Benedict, who I also went to high school with. What's going on? I haven't seen
Urban living.
Urban living, yes. I miss the neighbors. This was our second development, 19th and Cowart. And then as time has passed, people have built garages or enclosed garden spaces.
I've got to say, I love the Scout Guide.
Oh, thank you so much.
I cherish it, and I keep it over here because this is a vacation rental, and I leave the latest copy for people to show them all the different stuff. It's just really
Places
neat.
to go.
Thank you
and the
so
good.
much.
Yeah, I don't know who does all of your scheming of the photography, but the sets that you come up with, it's really nice.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and Don is in advertising and marketing,
Oh, wow.
so he would know.
Well,
Yeah.
thanks. That means a lot.
And I always look forward to seeing Heidi's picture in
Always.
there.
What's your favorite street in Chattanooga?
I think 17th Street, just because of the maturity and the trees and the quality of the housing. It's adjacency to Main Street, but just the quiet, nice walkability and options of housing.
If it wouldn't have been architecture, what is your alternative career path in your dream head?
Well, my first thought was to be a veterinarian. I love animals.
Love
But then
it.
I went to Switzerland to see my grandmother, and my great uncle was an architect, and they took me to the architecture school in Zurich, and I saw the models, and I saw the houses he had built and restaurants, and went to his studio, and I thought, oh man, this is the most exciting job I've ever heard of. You never do the same thing twice.
Do you have a preference, you personally as an architect, commercial versus residential?
I like to do both. Residential is, you get into more detail and it's very personalized. So those are fulfilling projects that you get to do a lot. But then I also like commercial because it is less personal and the projects generally go faster, and you're more engaged in city building or urban design aspects, and you get to talk with the community and try to strengthen neighborhoods. So I like them both. I wouldn't want to do only one or the other. And in our practice, we try to be diversified and not just specialize in only one thing. This project was originally a bread factory, and it was turned into apartments and lofts.
Hence the name.
Yes.
What's been your favorite home you've ever lived in? What was it like and where was it?
My two favorites, we lived in Los Angeles on Beechwood Drive, which is a little neighborhood similar to the Southside, where we were one street away from a commercial street, and they were little bungalows that had been built for people who worked at Paramount Studios in the 20s. So we had a small Spanish-style house in a really cute, quiet neighborhood right next to a bunch of coffee shops and retail stores. And then secondarily, 18th and Coward is one of my favorites too, just being part of the South Side in a walkable neighborhood.
This is pretty. Wonder what's going on there.
I think it's a business who's coming.
Yeah, they're all
I'm not
going to
certain. That's not one of our projects. But I'm so happy that somebody's reworking this building. Oh, there's the drawings. Maybe we can see.
Ooh, let's go sleuth.
What does it say? It says restaurant.
Oh.
Second restaurant. This project here was originally the urban lawn. I don't know if you remember.
I had my
Michelle-
rehearsal dinner here.
Michelle Peterson had created a garden with magnolia trees, which was really cool. And then it has recently been turned into a restaurant in the front. And then back here, we're working on the design of office space. Hello Monty is a great spot, and give a little plug for our neighbor Set in Stone. I believe he did all the steel windows and many
Hey,
of the
Rob.
tabletops.
Good to see ya.
This is another piece that's part of the public art that was located on Main Street to improve urban design and sense of community, bringing art and character. And I have to say, I love Feed.
Love.
It's such a nice patio to sit out on, and now they've added heaters. And,
What's your favorite thing to order there?
I like their burger.
Good one. I love their Brussels sprout salad.
Oh, that's good too. I mean, give a shout out to Tinkerma and Thomas Palmer. They did a great job with that design. And our first project in the South Side we're coming up to, which was the Hefferlin Art Gallery and living space. It's a live-work space. And then next door to it was a project we did for the Fellers that is unique in that we tore half of the building down and made a garden in the back. We left the first floor walls to create the garden walls. And see here is such a great example of these interstitial spaces that just create a nice environment in the neighborhood. And Melissa and Dowd were convinced to come down here by Cesar de Cosmo. He was the first person really that I know of in the South Side other than the South Side Grill. He had purchased this building and had his studios in it, and then he rented the front out to the cafe, the Camp House. But prior to the Camp House, he told Melissa and Dowd, you need to come. So they purchased 1405 William Street, and you see up there with the wood doors, that's their gallery space on the ground floor. And it was designed to let people spill out into the street when they had their own gallery openings. And then the building next to it, Craig designed Melissa and Dowd's, and I designed the one next door. So that was a fun interaction. And you see here where the 2-story becomes 1-story, that's where the lower walls were left to create the garden. There's a pool and a garden area in the back because it was too big to be a single family residence. But by cutting it in half, we tucked garages under the front. Tile work was part of the lobby for the old building, and we just loved it, so we kept that part and created this little outdoor room so you can be connected to the street, sit out in the rain, talk to your neighbors, so it's the front porch. This project is a small building that has a lot going on. It was actually designed so in the future they can build another story if they want, and the zoning would allow for that. But they wanted the program of being able to have their gallery on the ground floor in that public space, live above, and then have a separate studio in the back, which then allowed them over time to rent out 3 different spaces. Because at one time, they don't live here anymore. They've moved to Rossville Boulevard and started a new project, which I'm working on with them. But this, at one point they had the downstairs as a Pilates studio, the second floor as a residence, and the back as a third tenant. Now, since somebody has rented the entire thing, but it just shows you if you design things to be flexible, you can change with economic times or different living situations. Ethan Collier built these townhomes next to us here, and it's nice that the street has become built out, so you don't have many vacant spots at all. None right here, which makes for a great street experience.
Okay, we're coming up on another Chattanooga institution, which is Clumpy's Ice Cream. What is your favorite Clumpy's flavor?
I love their butter pecan.
You're a classic girly.
Yes, I'm not for all the wild flavors. I like the classic ones.
Do you like a cone or a cup?
Cone. Waffle cone.
Absolutely,
and
my girl.
Eat the cone.
Absolutely.
Down to the last crunchy bit.
Oh, that last bite with the little ice cream in the bottom?
Yeah, I know.
Can't beat it.
Never better. Okay, we're on Market Street next to Chattanooga Classic, the Choo Choo, and how it has changed. I mean, it's amazing. I did a tour last week with the new hotel that they renovated, and it's really nice. And all the little outdoor courtyards they've built back there, they're doing a terrific job. And I'm so happy we got Sophie's over here.
I know, so
in
fun.
the Southside. They have such excellent products. Another little garden space. You see, garden spaces and outdoor patios everywhere. Can't get enough of them.
Early influence by HK Architects. Okay, what would your perfect day in Chattanooga be if someone's coming to visit? What would you tell them? Where to stay, where to eat, what to do?
Stay at the Common House, eat at Need Loves, go to Lookout Mountain Point Park, and go to the sculpture fields and the Hunter Museum. Or you could just spend the day walking and never get in your car, which is good too.